Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Expert Dialogue podcast by Precious Kalu. So, today I have a very special guest, and she's going to come with a lot of expertise in the healthcare sector. And her name is Franca Nyambi. She's actually on the screen right now. So, Franca is a registered nurse with 12 years of experience, who is now a sought after nurse, career and visibility coach. And from her roots in healthcare to founding the Nurse Circle Network. Franca has empowered countless nurses globally to break free from traditional boundaries. And her journey has taken her from the hospital wards to speaking at industry events and an author of the book, Living Your Best Life as a Nurse. And she's now on a new chapter in the UK to inspire other nurses worldwide. So, Franca, thank you very much for joining. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Precious, for inviting me to your podcast. It's truly an honor to be here.
Because the last time when I saw I think it was a video, I was like, yeah, you remind me of my mom because she's also a nurse. And so
Ah,
I admire nurses so well, the way they do their job. I know some nurses are like, let's say it's pressure, they're not nice, maybe the way they answer you or the way they respond to certain things, but you are really one of the outstanding people I've seen so far. And thank you very much for coming.
thank you too for
So,
inviting me.
yeah. So today, like, I have a couple of questions, but I would start by asking you, what inspired you to be a nurse? Like, why did you choose nursing as a career?
Well, what inspired me to be a nurse is as as the first daughter in the family, you just have this responsibility to care.
Wow.
I'm the first daughter in my family, and I'm from the Igbo origin, and
Hmm.
um, when you are called Ada in quote, you have this huge responsibility, to care for people
Exactly.
around you, your younger ones, even your older ones. And I what really made me, inspired me to become a nurse. My mom died some 20 something years ago. And
Oh, sorry.
growing up as a child, when I was 7, 8, and 9 years, between that ages, my mom's best friend is a nurse. She's also late, God bless her soul. And I just loved how she wore this her white uniform, come in the neighborhood, help to treat malaria. She had this box, this small box with her. And when she works there in the general hospital, when she closes from work, she just, breezes into our home and just say hi to my mom. And she's always very compassionate. She's always will I use the word proud? Because we nurses we say we are proud of our profession. So
Of course.
we wear that garment of proudness. She's like in a world of her own. She's always very clean, always very beautiful with her white gown. So I really admired what she did, and I told myself as a child that I want to become a nurse. And as
Wow.
time went by, I lost my mom through postpartum hemorrhage, and I was quite curious, to know what PPH was. And the only way I could understand what PPH was, that's postpartum hemorrhage,
Yeah.
was to, go to nursing school. I finished from nursing school and I had to go to school of midwifery. And that was where I understood what postpartum hemorrhage is, bleeding after childbirth, and ways to control or to care for women that have postpartum hemorrhage so it doesn't cause them death and all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little story behind why I had the passion to venture into nursing.
Wow. Wow. That's really a beautiful story. I'm sorry about your mom's
Oh, that's fine. That's a long
loss.
time ago.
Yeah. So, like, do you even like? I know. Let me just start by because there was a time I think I told you something about morning shift, night shift because
Mm,
because my mom is a nurse. I know how those
mm,
things work. Because you would be
mm,
surprised how I knew about the shifts. Do you even have
mm.
time for your family? Do you still, or just maybe every single time you are in the healthcare office and you are just, do you have time for yourself as well?
Yeah, I do. Back home, I recently moved to the UK, by the way, and in
Yeah.
January. And here in the UK, our shifting is quite different from what we do back home. In the UK, here,
Mm-hmm.
we run like a 12-hour shift. We also have
Wow.
like early shifts and late shifts. But back home, we do what we do. 8-hour shifts. We run morning, afternoon, and evening. And then we also have days
Mm,
off. You understand? Then as a nurse and a mom of three myself, it's not easy, keeping up with all of this, because
yes.
nothing itself is tasking on its own. And then,
Mm-hmm.
running the family is tasking. And then I also have my own personal goals, dreams, and aspirations that I want to meet up with on
Yeah.
a daily basis. So what really helps me is just having like itinerary. So the Google Calendar is there to just help me when I, plan out my days, plan out my activities ahead for the week, for the month, sometimes 3 months ahead. And
Oh,
once I have like I have opportunity to get my rota ahead of time, I already know, okay, this week I'm going to work for 2 days, 3 days, and all. So I dedicate my time 2 days to work, and my off days I spread it out, just to have a balance of every aspect of my life. You understand? Have time for my family, have time for relatives, have time also to have fun you know, as a person. You don't just work,
of
work, work,
course,
work,
it's
work.
very
Yeah.
important.
Yes. So I don't just do things haphazardly, wake up in the morning and just do things as it go. If today, for example, is today is what's today again? Sorry.
Today's
I'm off
Sunday.
today. So sometimes when you're off days, you just forget that today is Sunday. So today is Sunday and tomorrow is Monday. I already have my day planned out for tomorrow. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's just how I try my best to balance my work, family, and every other thing. So I have time for myself.
Hmm.
Back to your question, I
Because
do have time for myself.
like there are some people they're like, oh, it's tasking. I hope you're listening to Franca
but
because
but the
you're
thing
able to
is,
like, yeah.
it's not actually easy to keep up with this. That's why we nurses sometimes we stress about work-life balance a whole lot of time,
Exactly.
because imagine you doing a 12-hour shift and you're back home, you're tired, you don't even have time for other activities. But if you've prepared yourself, you've prepared your mind that, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
what um I'm venturing into, this is what I'm going to expect. So you prepare yourself ahead of time to balance every other thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's just
true.
it.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Like, what are like some of the common health mistakes that people make that you can, because there are some mistakes that people make that could either cause them illness or maybe just cause some unnecessary things.
Yeah, the first thing I will talk about is one of the most common, the one that's happening, that is really trending now, is people self-diagnosing. you know
Mm,
the the internet is with us. Years back, we don't really access the internet. You see somebody, let me give an example. Somebody having headache and having fever, person rushes to the internet and asks the question, if I have headache and fever and maybe stomach ache, what do you think is my problem?
oh
And
my God.
you see a whole lot of information, and you see them clicking, and and say, oh, probably I'm having migraine, or probably I'm having my blood pressure is high. They'll start diagnosing themselves with having hypertension, or probably I'm having this or that. And then they'll now go for that to ask, if somebody has migraine, what's the best medication to take? And then, and then they'll now see, for example, if you go and take cocodamol or take paracetamol, they'll now go over the counter to buy
Wow.
these drugs. So I think the mistake people make is, one of it is self-diagnosing, and the
Mm,
second mistake people make is not ignoring symptoms. Like you and I, we already know how our system works. You know
yes.
how your system. If you wake up in the morning and you feel some kind of way, you know that there's something wrong. I usually say
Yeah.
the body is like an engine that needs servicing.
Mm-hmm.
Our joints, we have fluids in our joint that services the joint. We have, just like the heart, we have blood vessels. The heart pumps out blood and all. And
Yeah.
this is supposed to work in some certain kind of way. Now, if you're not somebody that usually have headache, that's if you're not hypertensive, because one of the symptoms of
Yeah.
hypertension for some person is having this headache and feeling generally unwell. If you don't feel that kind of way, and you wake up in the morning and feel one kind of symptoms, you don't just ignore it and say, oh, it's fine, it's one of those days, I'll just take paracetamol, I'll be fine, and you go to your work or your daily activities. So that's the
Yeah.
mistake people make, ignoring symptoms. In summary, just listen to your body. When you feel some kind of way, you know what to do. You don't go back to self-diagnosing. You get you the best thing to do is seek professional help, seek medical help when you feel that way. Then another mistake people do is poor dieting. Poor dieting. You see, I've seen pictures and videos of people eating so many things, and they'll be fanning themselves. Oh, I'm enjoying. Somebody will eat a whole lot of food and say, I am enjoying my money. And you see a whole lot of food things in one place that is not looking balanced to me. Balanced diet is just having a feel of fats, protein, minerals,
Yeah.
vitamins, and all. Of course, we know how Nigeria it is now. It's not really financially convenient for some group of persons to afford some basic things, but things like fruits are very cheap.
That's true.
Vegetables. I have this nutritionist I follow on Facebook, and the way he talks about Nigerians, inculcating the habit of eating vegetables. You prepare your yam, you put a whole lot of vegetables in it. You prepare your rice and beans together. Just make a little vegetable with all the veggies, carrots, and all one corner, and just have a feel of these things. So one mistake people make is poor dieting. That's one. Another thing again they do is inactivity, living a sedentary lifestyle. Yeah, 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 living a sedentary lifestyle. Especially for those persons that work behind the camera, like like the bankers, the people in some sectors that you just sit in your offices and you don't move a whole lot, you don't move around. It's something we call venous return. As your heart
Yeah.
pumps blood out, it tends to bring blood back from your feet or your legs back to your heart. So when you
Mhm.
sit at one place, it's a problem. There is no um, flow of blood, venous return back to the heart. Then lack
Wow.
of rest. And what other thing again I'll talk about is I think I've talked about over the counter, patronizing over the
Yes.
counter
Yes.
medication. Yes, we do that a whole lot. That's why we have chemists in every corners in Nigeria. You see somebody with a stethoscope, we tell you he's a doctor, but he has not gone to the 4 walls of medical school.
Like,
He hasn't. He hasn't gone to the 4 walls of medical school, and people patronizing him over the counter. You just want to sell, make money and all that. So I just feel just these few things. I feel these are the mistakes that people do that is not really good.
wow. Like, when you were talking about vegetable, I was remembering my mom's words. Because if I cook
Mm, mm.
noodles, if I tell her mommy I'm eating noodles, she'll ask me, "Did you put vegetable in the noodles?" I say, I used egg and I used another thing, but the vegetable was not complete." She's like, "You have to go and buy vegetable and put." Actually, at some point, I had to prefer
Mm,
vegetable sauce to stew
mm,
because it has lots of nutrient and everything. So I
mm,
do my vegetable with the normal vegetable leaf that we use with white
mm,
rice. Like it's,
mm,
I feel like it's much better to me than using all these canned tomato and all that. So you shared a lot of. I mean, for the sitting down, maybe I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it, but sometimes I think what I do is to stand up, sometimes go around, and
mm.
is that one of for?
Then I think another mistake people make. Sorry, I just remembered something. Another mistake people make again about ignoring their health and all is not adhering to medications. I think at
Hmm.
some point in my life, I was a victim of that. When I say not adhering to medications, I mean um, people abusing antibiotics. Like
Oh my God.
you've been able to go to the hospital and you've been prescribed. You were sick. You went to the hospital and been prescribed medications, and in that medication you have antibiotics in it, and you're supposed to take
Yeah.
it for like 5 days, and you took it for only 3 days, and some of the symptoms stopped, and you say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm good." You're laughing, but is a serious
Because
issue.
I've done this before, and that was for malaria. So
Ehen.
I did it.
That
It
is
was
where you
just for
hear
like
word
three
like
days, and it
that's where
came
you
back
hear word like
worse.
exactly. That's why you hear word like resistant malaria. Let me just give you a typical example now. Somebody used to taking P-alaxine. to treat malaria. At some point, your the P-Alatin doesn't work again in killing the parasites. That's your body has gotten so used to taking that particular type of malaria. I'm trying my best to use simple words so that people that are watching will understand. I don't want to use
Yes,
some
yes.
medical jargons. Okay. Now you're taking an antibiotics to treat a particular infection. For example, let me use a word like augmentin to treat something that's happening to you, and you have to take it for 7 days, maybe 2 times a day, and you're able to take for 3 days and you felt good, you said no. You're Once you stop taking that antibiotics, this microorganism kind of come back, they are grow, and when they're coming back, let me use this a word, second coming. A second coming of this microorganism or this infection is worse than the first time you had those symptoms. So
That's true.
mistakes people make is not taking completing the course of their medication. Another mistake they make
Hmm.
is not going for regular checkups, especially for individuals that have family diseases, like maybe you're from a family where most persons family have diabetes, they have hypertension, you're predisposed, or you already have a predisposing factor, which is family history. So if you're in that category, it's advisable to always go for regular checkup, sorry, just to check yourself and all. When I say these things, sometimes people will say, ah, that one is for big people now. It's not for a poor man. Poor man that is hustling. How will he have money to go for regular checkup? You understand? But if you can do it twice a year, it's good. You get?
Hmm. Thank you very much for that. Like, I've learned a lot of things because I know I'm guilty of a few.
Mm.
So, as a nurse, like, what are some effective things or habits we can do to boost our immune system from getting some kind of disease or infections?
Um, the first thing is what we eat.
Hmm.
What we eat is very important. Like I've said earlier, um, there's some food that you can take that has antioxidants in it, and those foods are the common food we know: fish, meats, tomatoes, the berries, the other those other, the blueberries, the red berries,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and fruits and vegetables. When you have a feel of all these things, they have what we call antioxidant that helps to boost your immunity. And still going back to what we talked about, balanced diet, because like I said earlier, the body is like an engine, and what fuels the body is what we eat.
mm-hmm.
Now, your immune system itself has what we call it's like the soldiers of the body. We call it the white blood cells. And what is God has so prepared the body in such a way, because He already knew that we're going to be taking in some, toxins from our mouth into our body, and that as on the long run, these things are going to cause problem to our body. So He has kept what we call the white blood cells, or in layman words, soldiers of the body, to fight, you know, those toxins or those microbes you ingest in, maybe through food, through water, and all.
Yeah.
So help your immune system stay in equilibrium, or stay in check, to be able to do its work. We need to eat balanced diets. We need to eat food that contains these antioxidants. We also need to eat food that has probiotics in it, and those kind of food or drinks are example like yogurt. Yogurt has what
Wow.
we call yeah, not these what do they call it, all these processed yogurt. I think there's this fresh way of preparing that. When you at some stores you go to, you see some fresh made yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that are into those businesses where they make this yogurt, freshly prepared yogurt. You can take those ones. Then also staying hydrated can keep your immune system in check, or keeping your immune system in the level it should be. Now, I've heard people say, I don't just like drinking water. Now, don't forget that your body excretes fluids in many ways, through sweat, even when you cough, even when you sneeze, even when you
Yeah.
defecate, you're losing water. And you need to replace this water. And the only way you
Hmm.
can replace the water is by drinking water. Because the water, your blood system absorbs this water, and works together with the blood system to help circulate these white blood cells around the body.
Hmm.
So if you don't drink water, your blood gets thick, or the word we usually call it viscous, something that is quite thick. And if
Wow.
it's thick, and if it's thick, blood, something that is thick that's going through a tunnel. Imagine what's going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
the blood itself has in it the white blood cells and every other, the red blood cells and all. But in this context, I'm talking about the white blood cell. So water helps to, start keeping your body hydrated. It helps to boost your immunity in the way I talked about, by helping, the white blood cells, transporting it to all parts of the body and all. Although we have other fluids in the body that helps transport the white blood cells, but water is one of the key fluids. And another way to you can help boost your immunity is understanding or knowing how to manage stress.
Hmm.
Sometimes, if you notice, when somebody is overstressed, is at that time a person becomes susceptible or vulnerable to disease condition. It's
Wow.
just a simple way, just a simple thing. It's something that it's it's you overstress yourself, your immune system drops because you're overworking your body at that stage. Another thing again people need to do to build their immunity is having enough sleep. I usually say it's very important to have at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. See, you're laughing. You can know that it's something you hardly do. Now, so we nurses, I don't know. Sometimes when I talk about having enough sleep, I'll just be laughing at myself too, because our job requires us most times working around the clock. That's why when a nurse is on her off days, like personally, when I'm on my off days, I hardly respond to DNs because I'm on my bed sleeping. If I'm off my bed
Wow.
is to if I'm off my bed is to attend to my kids or maybe family matters, and I think must be very important, because 12 hours is no joke. You
Yeah,
understand?
that's true.
Yeah. So having enough sleep is important, because when you are sleeping, your body releases what we call cytokines. Cytokine is like a protein, and this cytokine what it does is, in your sleep state, the cytokine just help to fight or protect your body or fight any infection or any inflammation that's happening in your body. Then some other thing you need to do to boost your immunity is it's hygiene. I don't want to talk about the general hygiene, like head to toe hygiene, which some of us already know it's very important to stay clean. I want to focus on hygiene, basically on our hand.
Hmm.
Now, I remember during the COVID period, we watched so many documentaries during the COVID time. When you want to cough,
Yeah.
you use your elbow. When you want to, you wash your hand all the time. And people imbibed that habit of, hand washing and all. But
Yes.
after the COVID thing trended and left, people went back to status quo. Like, you hardly see people wash their hands these days. Now, I went for a training. I think that was a few months ago, where they used in that training. They're talking about hygiene and all, and then they ask us to wash our hands with just water, and then they use an equipment, like a microscopic equipment, to check our hands to see if our hands still had like microbes in it. And we washed with soap and water, and we checked. When they checked my hand, you could see they're so tiny in such a way that you can't see them with your eyes. It's only
Wow.
with a microscope you can see them. And I cannot count how many times I've used my hand to put in my mouth. As I'm talking to you right now, I've touched my face, I've touched. So the hand is the easiest medium where microorganism can, move from to your body, through your mouth to your body. So I encourage people to imbibe the habit of hand washing a whole
Yeah.
lot. I see men using the restroom by the roadside, and then after doing all that, you just touch somebody or greet somebody. Women
No
using the
way.
restroom and not washing their hands, and doing all, or you sneeze, you cough, you don't wash your hands, and you use that same hand to, like for those ones that are, picking their hand up. What do they call them? Those ones that pick their fingers. Yeah. So,
Even when I shake someone, I
mm,
maybe in the church after shaking, I go to the toilet, I wash my hand. One of my
Yeah,
friends asked me, "Why do I always do that?" I say, "Because I always touch my face. Like I can't."
exactly. Exactly. I have a friend that has in her bag. I think I've done it a few times, but sometimes I forget my hand sanitizer. Every second you see her, she's always is now um she's not so used to
A
using
habit.
sanitizer. It's a habit, yes, and I really encourage that. Sanitizers are no longer expensive. It was during the COVID time that they were
Mm-hmm.
expensive and scarce, but now we have it everywhere. Then another thing again people need to do to boost immunity again is um people under rates this early morning sunlight. Some I know that some food that we have vitamin D in it, because vitamin D, of course, helps the body boost immunity. The early morning sunlight is very important. It has in it vitamin D. Of course, what they were taught in secondary school and nursery school, that
Of
you to come out in the
course.
morning, allow the sun, hit you a bit and all. So aside the vitamin D supplements you can take, the early morning sunlight too is very important. You get. Then I see people sit in air condition all day long. You go to work, you're
Hmm.
in air condition all day long. Your the air condition, you breathe out air, it kind of, what's the word? It condense, I mean what? Like the air is circulating around. Once in a while, just have a fresh air. Go out, have fresh air, breathe in fresh air, take in fresh air into your system and allow your body come back alive. Then
Wow.
lastly, I'll talk about being up to date with vaccination. Being up to date with vaccination. There are times where you hear disease outbreak or you hear, oh, the federal government has sent some health personnel to go around and vaccinate the public. And you hear stories like, if you take it, you die. Don't give your children that vaccination. Or even adults saying, if you vaccinate yourself, like when COVID was trending, they say if you take the COVID vaccine,
Exactly. The COVID
uh,
vaccine.
yes, a whole lot of misconception flying around during that time. If you take the COVID vaccine, you're going to die. That is antichrist. I heard a whole lot of things. So it's just you being up to date with your vaccination. You understand? So that's just it, especially for children, especially for children. If you have kids around, if at the appropriate age are supposed to take measles vaccines, they should have it. I remember my third child in the state I was living then, um, vaccines were scarce. At that time, she was having her vaccination. It was really scarce by the way, I was staying in Akwa Ibom State. I was staying in Uyo then before I left to the
Hmm.
UK. So vaccines were really, really scarce then. And she was supposed to have a vaccine at 6 months. And we were like, is she going to miss out on having this vaccine? So what we did was we reached out to a relative in Cross River State, that's Calabar, which is like 2 hours drive. Can you help us
Yeah.
get this vaccine for our daughter? And these vaccines are supposed to be like in a cold box and all. We went through a whole lot just to get the vaccines to you, and we had to
Wow.
vaccinate because we understood the importance of she being vaccinated. You understand? So I think with these few points of mine, I think I have
Hmm.
been able
No,
to
no, no.
convince you.
It's not few. It's not few. It's a lot. Because even the sunlight thing, seriously, I haven't been doing it myself because, as you just said it,
Ah,
because I am going
mm,
to make it a habit because it's very important. Sometimes when I come out, maybe during it was in secondary school during my boarding school days that we usually do it because we'll come out at 7 for devotions and we'll be under the,
mm,
wow, you've really shared
mm,
a lot, a lot. So now, there are some chronic diseases like heart diseases and diabetes.
mm.
What do you think are the signs to these kind of things? How do somebody notice them early to either avoid them or start treatment on time?
Okay. I think the most common chronic disease, because of obviously most of people listening to me are people that are in Nigeria. The most common chronic disease back home is diabetes and hypertension. We have others, but I'm going to talk about a few ones, those others. But let me just talk on first one on diabetes. Now, diabetes, we call it diabetes mellitus.
Hmm.
Now, Now, diabetes is just when your blood glucose level is high above the normal range, which is I think about
Yeah.
4 to 8 millimole. Now, if it's above, when your blood glucose level is above, we call it hyperglycemia. That's hyper, something that is above. If it's below, we call it hypoglycemia. But in this um podcast, I'm going to talk about the hyper. Hypo
Okay.
is also is a bad is a critical condition if your blood glucose level drops below
Mm-hmm.
normal. But for here, I'm going to talk about the hyper, which is um diabetes mellitus. Now, we have different types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. But in this podcast, I'll just talk about your question. What are the symptoms people are going to see and say, oh, I think there's something wrong with me. I'm not saying you should self-diagnose. I'm going back to what I'm saying. Just understand the symptoms, especially for those that are from the family where your mom or your dad or your uncle or your any of your relative or a family member has diabetes. Now, the first common symptoms of diabetes, and of course, diabetes is a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Chronic means it stays for a very long time. It's not like acute that comes, you treat it and it goes. It spans for years. Yeah. So the first symptoms you feel is increased taste.
Hmm.
You just feel that you want to be drinking water all the time. You feel the urge to take water. Now, I won't go into all the pathophysiology on why it
Yeah.
happens like that. Yeah, but just going to talk about the symptoms. You drink a whole lot of water. You see yourself, you're having frequent urination. And the frequent urination happens especially at night.
Okay.
Now you go to urinate. Some people will say when you urinate and you feel your urine is kind of foamy.
Hmm.
It's foamy. That's what some persons say. I don't think I've seen any research about that symptoms, but some people say when you're peeing and you see your urine is foamy, bringing out foam is not really normal. You get then, like I said, a frequent urination happens basically at night. Then um another symptoms of diabetes mellitus again is unexplained weight loss.
Wow.
Unexplained weight loss. You cannot understand why you're losing weight. You just feel generally unwell. You you're somebody that sits in your office for 8 hours without getting tired, but you just notice you start feeling tired. You feel fatigue. Every little thing you do, you're tired and all. So in summary of this, like from the beginning when we started talking, I said that the common mistakes people do is ignoring symptoms. Once
Yeah.
your body is going out of proportion, you will know that something is wrong. And
Yeah.
that's not the time for you to go to Firefox, go to Chrome, go to all the search engine and start asking questions. No, that's not the time to do all that. What you should do is not calling a relative that is a nurse I'm saying so because I receive those kind of calls. Please, I'm feeling this kind of way. And my response will always be go to the hospital because hospital will do a general, you know,
Check up. Yeah.
check up on you and then know what the issue is. You get.
Hmm.
So those are the few symptoms you might see in and you say, okay, I think there's something wrong. We won't conclude though it's diabetes because there are other disease conditions that have similar symptoms,
Oh
like
yeah.
what I have mentioned now. Then for heart problems, there are a whole lot of heart problems, a whole lot of them. But heart problem is like using a general umbrella. Yeah. So as the heart it is now, just I'm focusing more on the heart now. So the first thing you will usually notice is shortness. You feel shortness of breath.
Hmm.
You want to bend down, you're standing up, you start breathing, and you're trying to grasp air.
Mm.
Then you hear what we call palpitation. Palpitation is where you hear your heart beats, like you hear your heart beating, boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
I don't mean palpitation that happens when you have like panic attack or you're anxious, not that one. I mean, when you're in your normal state of rest, you're not doing anything, you're just in a normal state of rest, your heart just starts beating very fast. There's a problem with that. You shouldn't be beating that fast in your rest state. Then another problem again for heart disease is like I mentioned earlier that your body tends to is what you call venous return. I explained. brings blood from the lower part back to the heart, and brings the blood moves in all parts of the body. Now when you have a
Yes.
heart problem, your heart cannot do all these things. So you see your legs swelling, you see your feet swelling, you understand, you start
Yeah.
having what we call edema of the legs. Your legs start swelling, your hands start swelling, your feet, your ankle starts swelling. So those few things are what you say, oh, I think I'm not feeling too good, I need to go to the hospital. Then another chronic disease again is kidney problem, kidney disease, or what we call yeah, kidney problem. Yeah. Kidney problem is this. Many years ago they said it was not common, but now it is becoming very common, and it all points. I think the accusing finger is to what we still eat these days. If you notice,
Mm.
our food pattern has really changed.
Yeah.
What we
Yeah.
eat, what we drink. You see the youth abusing alomo bitters. You see the youths, even the older ones, abusing so many all these hard drinks.
They will tell you it's herbal.
Is herbal, but you're overworking your kidneys, because what the kidney does is to detoxify whatever that is harmful to the body. We call it a filter machine. It filters what you shouldn't get to the body. And when you're overworking the kidney, what do you think will happen? It will just shut down.
Mm.
And when it shuts down, it no longer does its work anymore. So just as the heart, you know, controls fluids around the body, the kidney also does that. It detoxifies, take excess fluid that is already there in the body out of the body through urination and all. So one of the symptoms, one of the basic symptoms you feel is maybe nausea. You feel if you want to vomit. You also feel leg swelling too on your legs, and generally unwell. You feel fatigue and all. So the thing is, if you pick all these chronic illnesses, pick all of them, bring them all in one room, it still boils down to the fact that we need to listen to our body.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen to our body. Once you're feeling, you say, I'm fine. With malaria, I'm good. Oh, sorry, with paracetamol, I'm good. If I take paracetamol, I'm okay. And hear somebody say, I think it's malaria. And malaria, they worry you. And malaria, they worry you. But it's something bigger than malaria. Yes, something bigger than malaria. So that's why we need to go to the hospital. Not, let me know, if I use the word hospital, it scares people away. Like, if I say hospital, is like, you want to go and spend, go to the health, what do they call them? The primary health facility. Just, and that's the first point of contact. If you can go there first, at least with there, if your problem is not being solved at that point, they can tell you, okay,
Yeah.
you can now go to the tertiary institution, like maybe the federal hospitals and all you get.
Wow.
So that's it.
Wow. Okay. Because as you're talking, I'm learning a lot from this as well. Thank you very much. What I really like, let's say some people would like to know, or a lot of people, my viewers would like to know, including myself.
Mm,
What are the first aid techniques we should know? Maybe in case of emergency where there is no healthcare around, or there is no
mm.
nurse or doctor around.
First of all, before I answer this question, I will say that um, the educational system in my country is not really helpful at all. The other, not only educational system, other sectors, because these are things that even if we're not taught in school, in a place of work, not only the health and health sector or health setting, people should be taught these life-saving skills. Like what was trending few months ago, how we lost a Nigerian actor from drowning. And I saw videos of people carrying him on the head and moving around to take him to the hospital. And I was asking myself this question: did somebody just do something as common as, I'm calling it common because it's common as CPR? CPR, by the way, is cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
Yeah.
In the first world, like in the developed countries, they teach people in primary, nursery, secondary school these skills. Sometimes we see these videos on TikTok and how a child saved the father, how a child saved the mother from probably choking, or did something before calling 911 or calling 999.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So if our educational system could incorporate these life-saving skills in the school curriculum, it will really go a long way to help or shaping the, or save life in future. Now, the
That's
first
true.
skill I'll talk about is CPR. Now, okay, let's say, okay, we're not taught in school, but we have, instead of using the internet to self-diagnose, you use the internet to learn the skills.
Yeah.
Now, CPR is something, it's just a way of when somebody is unresponsive. Something happens, somebody collapses, and you go and check, person is unresponsive. You start the CPR immediately. And there are techniques you do too, CPR is just like you just applying 30 compression and giving two breath. You see somebody
Mm-hmm.
pinching the nose. You like the person in a flat surface, of course. You have to check that the person is first unresponsive. You don't go and start doing CPR for somebody that is still breathing or somebody that is still alive. The person just had maybe a person just fainted and just needed time to to come back, and you go and start doing no. You should know that, oh, this person is no longer breathing. The airway, person you check the airway, nothing we call ABC. A for airway,
Mm-hmm.
B for breathing, C for circulation. When you've checked all of these and you say, oh, this person is no longer, there's no airway, person is not breathing, and the circulation is poor, that's when you now say this person is unresponsive. You now start your CPR. Now, if you're not CPR trained, there's some other things you need to do for a CPR trained. But for people that are laymen or layman, people that are not CPR trained, like our students in school, you just teach them how to do the normal, chest compression and give the two rescue breath. Two rescue breath,
Yeah.
just you pushing in air into the person's mouth, just to make the heart and lungs to kick up. And while you're doing this, you're arranging a means of transporting this person to the hospital. You're just trying to buy time for this person, because in the developed world, they will just, why that before they're doing that, they've called the emergency, what's it called? The emergency response, and they're on their way. But back home in my country, we don't have those services. So while you're doing all those things, you're buying time to prepare probably for transportation to transport this person to the hospital. So that's one life-saving skills people should know how to do. The second life-saving skills is um, knowing how to manage somebody that has a panic attack. Somebody is panicking and you say, in just they do, or she just they do. Let me use let me use a common word that we use sometimes in secondary school. Somebody having panic attack, you say, the person is forming. The person is just doing. The person is having serious issues and you're saying the person is forming. Do you understand? You should know how to manage somebody that has panic attack. You know how to say, oh, calm down. You just use words of encouragement. That is life-saving skills. Because if you don't
Yeah.
calm that person down at that time, the person will transit from the panic attack to something serious.
Yes.
Then other life-saving skills we need to learn is what we call the Helmish maneuver. Helmish maneuver is, I've worked in hospital where they brought a child that was choking. Like
Hmm.
normally when you eat, your food should go down to your stomach, shouldn't go to the wrong
Yeah.
tract, the respiratory
Yeah.
tract. And when it goes there, it blocks the respiratory tract and prevents air from going, down to the trachea, to your lungs and other parts. Yeah. So when this happens, the person starts coughing and struggling. You see the person eyes are popping out, the veins are popping out, the person is visibly struggling.
Hmm.
And you're living in maybe how many miles away to the hospital. Before you drive the person to the person is gone. But if you
Yeah.
know the few things to do, like you tell the person, the first the person should do is cough. Say cough, cough, cough. Person can try to cough out this whatever object it is. If he cannot, just at the person's back, you can give like five slap, you know, on the person's back. If it doesn't work, that's why you go to the Helmish maneuver, where you just come behind. I think most of us have seen the videos where you just come behind and
Push
around the
and
person's
hold.
diaphragm and
Yeah.
abdomen. These are things that should be taught in secondary schools
Hmm.
and allowing students to practice them among themselves. Do you understand? Then another skills again is as simple as somebody having a burn at home, maybe from hot water, from fire burn. Those little things you do to control the bond from leaving the surface area and going deeper, as things as just opening a tap and allowing the person water flow at the site that the person had the injury. As simple as that. It's not about applying salts or applying what are those things they will tell you to apply. So
Maybe
if
powder.
powder and all those things, yes. So if you know how to treat burns, even wound injuries, that's why I usually say every home should have a first aid kit. Somebody has an injury and is bleeding, you know that if the person is bleeding at a particular site, you know that that site is where we have the vein and the person is going to pour. I know, of course, blood is life. So you should know how to apply pressure on it. Now, nobody is saying that when there's an accident, you're not a health person and you rush and to go and rescue. No, nobody's saying that. But at least you should know how to be calm in a situation where there's an incident. You should know how to um, remove objects around the person that has had this maybe injury or accident. Maybe somebody had an accident and is on the floor. Is that not the time to bring out your camera and start making videos for social media
Exactly.
content? That's not the best time to do that. That's where you should wear your first aid skills or game should come to play. Nobody's saying go and take a broken leg or someone that has fracture, you go and start jack. No, because if you do that, you're probably going to make that fracture worse. The best thing to do is to remove dangerous things around away from the person. Words of encouragement. Are you okay? Are you fine? Okay, don't worry. Somebody's bringing the vehicle. Somebody's doing the, just give that encouragement to the person. It's not about making videos. We can make videos maybe for record purpose or not making videos to be the first person to share or to make share the news on social media. No, you understand? Then another life saving skill is, when we were growing up, they usually say I had this um person in my neighborhood that usually falls, like epilepsy. If somebody has epilepsy and you start having
Yeah.
convulsion or having seizures and
Yeah.
the person falls, you say it's witchcraft. You say the person is not this and that. You start saying so many things. But if we could teach our children how to manage seizures, somebody has seizures, you know what to do. Person is falling, as person is falling, you try your best to protect the person's head from not hitting the floor. Or if the person falls on the floor, you make the person lie flat, remove tight clothing. Because at that time, person having seizures, the respiratory tract is, constricted
Mm-hmm.
and air is life. So you move the person is wearing a tight clothing, you move the tight clothing, remove harmful objects around the person, and then turn the head to one side, so that the tongue doesn't flow backward and further occludes airway. You can turn the head to one side and then seek for help. So there are a whole lot of skills that
Wow.
should be put into school curriculum. And if it's not there in the school curriculum, parents should learn this thing and teach their kids at home and also teach themselves at home. So that's just it.
Hmm. This is supposed to be a paid session, really. But to my viewers, I hope you're listening and I hope you are learning a lot from this session. There should definitely be a part two or a paid session because these are things that we
Mhm.
really need to know that could save our friends, our family members, and every other person around us. So, in your Nurse Circle network, how is it like? How do you support nurses? Is it only for nurses or also to other people?
Okay, as the name implies, nurse circle network is for nurses.
Yeah.
Actually, the idea, just want to take my viewers back to the idea of how nurse circle network started and what we do in the community.
Yeah.
I've been a nurse for over 12 years now, since 2011. I finished and then got my license in early 2012. So this is 2024. It's 12 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before, I think I've shared this story so many times on Facebook. Um, Before 2019, it's something we call just a nurse. When we use the word just a nurse, is someone that does the traditional definition of what people know a nurse to be. Go to hospital, give injection, treat wound, give health education, and all that. Then you come back home, and you go back tomorrow, the same cycle. You come back, the same cycle. And It's like you know when you're eating the same food,
Yeah, you get tired of
you
it,
know
definitely.
exactly. You know when you said what inspired me to be a nurse is because I want to
Yes.
care. Of course, my passion is still there. My passion for caring is still there, but I just felt I needed something more.
Hmm.
I've seen nurses that have done a whole lot outside the hospital space. They didn't achieve that by just being a nurse. They did so much more and before they got to where they are. So I just felt I was just doing the same thing. At some point, I felt burnout. I felt I wasn't having a whole enough. I wasn't getting what I really want to get out of life or out of being who I am or being a nurse. So I was just surfing the internet and then I came across um, this platform called the Nurse Power Network. The Nurse Power Network is
Wow.
a platform, yeah, that is the conveners are two young nurses in the United States of America, and they're entrepreneurs. They've done a whole lot. And I just got glued to that network. I was like, they're doing a whole lot. You see nurses who are entrepreneurs, nurses who are speakers, nurses, they've left the bedside. They're now speaking in platforms. Nurses who are authors of books, nurses who have nurses who are policy makers, nurses who are a whole lot. Mention them. Nurses who work in the military and all. So I said,
Wow.
yes, I said, this is exactly what I've been missing in my life. So at that point in 2019, just after COVID hit, I was on mat leave and then I went back to work and then nurses were complaining. I was like, I think this is the time for me to do something for
Yeah.
nurses. This is the time to do something for nurses. And that was where I coined the word Nurse Circle Network from the Nurse Power Network.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to do something that looks like what they do in Nurse Power Network, you know. And And I looked inward. What do I have to offer? I'm creating a platform. I don't really have enough. I don't have things to offer to them. You get that was when I started building on myself. I started attending both paid, free courses. I started following people like Emeka Nobis on Facebook. I started following
Mm-hmm.
people like Choma Fanyeze. Started following so many people. You know, when you follow somebody on Facebook, the person will tag some other person. I will just click on the word
Yeah.
and follow. That was how I started buying their courses, buying their books. I bought so many books, e-books from Emeka Nobis. I read this is book. Is it how to blow on social media 30 days and all. So I did all of this, build on myself. And that was how I started creating webinars to help nurses. In that webinars, nurses started learning new skills that they can use to survive outside the hospital environment. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about you writing your CV and writing, oh, I can treat wound, I can give injection, I can. If they remove all these things from what else can you do
What
as a
else?
nurse?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was where I created that platform. And then I think the first event we had was in a nurse circle hangout where I took nurses to the beach. I was like, let's just leave the hospital environment. Let's come to the beach,
Wow.
dance, unwind, talk to connect, network, and all. I invited people that came and spoke about, for those that want to travel, the people that want to
Mm-hmm.
japa. I invited some persons to come, discuss about the pathways of Japaring. We just left all the syringes and needle and the peri arrest in the hospital. We just came to the beach and we just had time, just had fun. And after that session, I started inviting guests, people that are well knowledgeable in other areas that I'm not so knowledgeable. Sometimes I do this webinar myself, but I invited people that are trained
Experts.
in
Yeah.
experts in many areas to come give free webinars. Some of the webinars or some of the trainings I did were actually some were paid, and so that was the idea about Nurse Circle Network. So it was in that
Wow.
network I realized that you ask if the Nurse Circle Network is for nurses alone or for well, it's for the idea was for nurses who are registered, nurses who are licensed and experienced nurses, seasoned nurses, young nurses. But I noticed that when I created that platform, people that were reaching out to me were student nurses.
Yeah.
Majority
Okay.
of the persons that were reaching out to me were student nurses. And whenever they ask me questions like, the questions, when someone asks a question and this person is actually lost, doesn't really know, he needs guidance.
Yeah.
It took me back to myself 5 years in the profession where I was also lost. I didn't understand what coaching was. I didn't understand what mentoring was until 2019. Imagine from 2012 to 2019, the years I have wasted. Maybe if I had a coach earlier, no, maybe probably I would have been in space now,
That's true.
practicing nursing in space. Maybe I don't know, maybe I would have been
With Elon
somewhere.
Musk, maybe.
So that was when I said, oh, I think this, I'm born to do this. I'm born to coach. Born to hold nurses by the hand, teach them some things that weren't taught in the 4 walls of nursing school. So that's just basically what the platform is, just for community building, networking. What else do we do in our community? Skills acquisition, you know, and many other things we do. Just recently, I've added job search, interview techniques and tips,
Wow.
because I recently moved to the UK. So some of the things I did before I left, I just felt,
Mm,
okay, it's time for me to hold people on persons that want to go through that journey, by the
yeah,
hand,
since
and
you've
teach
been
them those
there.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm,
that's what we do in the platform.
wow. Like, you are not just a nurse. Because the first time I saw your post, it was your comments I saw. I was like, I don't know what made me to check out. I don't really know. Because
Mm,
seriously, I just was moved. I was like, you are
mm.
not just a nurse. You are more than a nurse. You are like both a coach,
Thank
mentor,
you.
nurse. I mean, who let me just say the lady that wears a lot of hats in this, and
Mm,
you're really good at it. And trust me, you've shared a lot of things that even I myself have not heard of. Seriously,
mm.
it's in like when you were talking about the diseases, the types, or like, oh God, let me understand these things. So thank you so much. And
You're
lastly, I would
welcome.
really ask. I don't want to keep you here, but I would really love to be listening to you talking, but because of your time,
Yeah.
what is the advice you'd give to people in general about health?
Okay. I think I've done a whole lot of advice here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done, but I just mentioned two things in summary, which I've already mentioned. Is we shouldn't, when it comes to our health, we shouldn't assume. When it comes to matters of the health, we shouldn't just assume and say, oh, I think this is what it is. No, you're not in that position to say this is what it is. That is why we have medical doctors. That's why we have nurses. That's why we have the lab scientists. That's why we have the pharmacists. That's why we have so many medical professionals to do their work. It is not in your place. And I'm saying this, and this advice is also for doctors, also for nurses, because we sometimes we end up, you know, self-diagnosing ourselves. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a nurse. I already know that this is the thing that's the problem. And before you realize what has happened, it has become very bad or worse. So the general advice I would give to people is, don't assume this is what it is. Once you feel some kind of way, seek medical help immediately. Seek medical help immediately. Just go and then they tell, oh, it's nothing wrong. Than you just sitting back at home and assuming that this is what it is. You understand? So I think that is the advice you need to get first. If you're able to crack that and say, oh, when I'm sick, I should do this, every other thing I've said will fall in place.
Yes.
Every other health
Yes.
tips I've given here will fall in place. You understand?
Yes.
So
Like
that's
some
just
like some
mm,
like some people will say, don't be scared, don't be afraid, just speak out. Because when you
yeah.
speak out,
Mm.
so thank you very much. Thank you very much. Maybe we should have a part two. But I feel like it should be a paid session because this is not a regular advice.
I'm
This is not
always
a
ready
regular
to talk.
session. Thank you very much.
You're
And if you're a
welcome.
nurse, you are an aspiring nurse, you are a student nurse, any type of nurse you are, I will link all her social media handles and community net, everything in the description. So you click on the link or any of the link you see, you connect with her, follow her, and just reach out to her for further questions or you want to join her community. She is ready to attend to you. I know she will be busy, but maybe give her some time because definitely she's
Mhm.
gonna want to respond later or even immediately. So, Franca, thank you so much for coming, and
Thank
I'm really
you.
excited. I'm excited. I mean, this
Thank you so
session
much for inviting
is
me.
will I say is beyond what I expected, or I don't know. It's
Really?
just mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Thank you.
Thank you too for inviting me your platform.
All right. So, to my viewers, I'd love you to share this. This is an important video, so don't be stingy about it. To save
Mm.
yourself, to save your family, to save your friends around, your colleague, and even every other person around. So, like this video and subscribe to this channel because you don't know, maybe I'll bring her next time so we can continue with the part two of this
Yeah.
session. So, until next time, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.